Hello, lovelies. I was on Bruno Galland's talk show this morning. Not sure when I'll upload the video, but talking about the satanic panic and surrounding issues with Angry Piper and Tenebrae. Yeah, so that'll be on their channel at some point. Bruno Galland talk show. Go and subscribe and listen when it gets uploaded. There's an old interview with me on there as well, which you can watch, which would be nice. Anyway, I've been told off for procrastinating on getting to the point, so I'll get to the point, I guess. That last video wasn't meant to be for everybody. It was just, I deliberately made it as unappealing as possible, so that only my core audience would watch it and listen to it. And yet, that was like for a while, it was my #1 performing video in the last week or so, and it hasn't dropped below #2 yet. So clearly the answer to being watched on YouTube is reverse psychology. So don't watch this video either. But I wanted to address some of the comments and advice that people gave, and I took even the negative comments in a sort of positive way. But it did occur to me that maybe I wasn't particularly clear on some things in that previous video, though I thought I was. So to address some of these things, some people commented that the tabletop role-playing scene on YouTube is contracting, which is true, which is a little weird because they highlighted specifically D&D creators a while back, and then seem to have told a lot of D&D creators that YouTube's kind of backing away from that and won't be recommending their videos so much, which is a weird juxtaposition of events. Now, sure, for creators who are specifically D&D related and their channels, I think, yeah, it's not a time to be doing that necessarily, though I think people who do stick it out and maybe address the newer edition might find a fairly successful niche amongst the relatively small number of people who seem to be that bothered about the new edition. I feel like my recent growth has been fueled, if anything, in part from the relative collapse of these RPG channels, because there's people who are giving up and their audience has to go somewhere, and it seems a little bit too much of a coincidence that just as some people are giving up or moving their content onto other things, that I should get a boost in followers and membership and whatever else, right? Just seems a bit peculiar. Also, like I said in the previous video, I'm not looking to make YouTube my career. I've just got to make it worth a little bit more somehow. And I am perfectly content being in a little niche. I'm not looking for explosive growth. I just need it to feel worthwhile for additional reasons than I started, which was just to get my ideas out there, to be less misunderstood, which doesn't seem like it sometimes, but I think it has done that, and to support the other things that I do. So I'm not looking to become, 100,000 follower D&D influencer or whatever. I don't think I ever would become that. I'm happy being in my little niche, but I want my little niche to be a little bit bigger. Someone suggested tongue-in-cheek that I should start an Only Grims. Well, I have a Patreon, which you can subscribe to, and I think a few people did, which thank you very much, and that may have pushed the income over the $200 bracket, in which I start giving people discounts and creating content for that. If anyone wanted to see a middle-aged grey-haired man on OnlyFans for whatever reason, trust me, I would already be doing that, and I would have a lot of people who would be able to advise me very well on how to on how to make a success of that. But nobody wants that, least of all me. A couple of people privately or publicly said, look, the problem isn't that you're not doing this esoteric algorithmic stuff to try and summon the digital demons to pay attention to you. And yeah, sure, again, maybe I wasn't particularly clear. I often say jokingly, but also seriously, that I do YouTube wrong. But what I am suggesting to people is some of the things that I do to hack what gets shown to me on my homepage and my recommended lists and everything. Yeah, how I modify my behavior in response and interaction with the algorithm to show me more of the things that I like. It mostly requires you just being kind of conscious of your behavior and what kind of feedback it's sending to the sites and the profile that they have of you. And if you have some sort of consciousness and idea of that, you can hack the system. And so it would be good for me if people who want to see my content can instill in themselves the same kind of behavior, particularly when it comes to my videos. So these are techniques and ways that you can game the system, overcome the algorithm and the system and the biases that it tends to make us create by engaging your conscious mind and actively choosing what you want to watch, who you want to watch, what kind of things you want to watch. Because there is this dichotomy that Professor Dungeon Master's gone into, you know, what people say they want and what they actually watch. It's often two different things. Like my last video, which I actively told people not to watch unless they were like core fans, and yet there we are with it doing quite well. Some people said that my content is boring, and I mean, well, okay then, I'm boring. Fair enough. I don't want to be exciting if it means constantly over-emoting about everything and getting horribly, horribly upset and angry about things, or getting overjoyed at the tiniest little thing. And that's not me. Right. And it wouldn't be representative of me. I talk about the things that I find interesting in a way that I prefer, providing context, taking your time. I know it's desperately unfashionable, but like I said, I'm fine being in a niche, and I really don't want to do separate channels for everything. I parceled out the live plays and so on into a separate channel just because streaming so negatively affects channels that are primarily prepared content. I do separate out my content by playlist, and increasingly I use titles so that you can tell at a glance, if you see my stuff before, what I'm doing. Know Your Role is about older games, the history of RPGs, and quasi-reviewing. There are reviews, which are usually titled TTRPG Review. So that's newer things that have come in, things that people have sent me to review, and so on. There's Off Topic Tuesday. So I've segregated my non-RPG observations and commentary and politics and so on into that. So you can avoid it entirely if you don't want to watch it, without me having to have a separate channel and pissing myself off and making extra work for me. And Pretentious Waffle I've now instituted, which is where I have deeper considerations and long, boring, slow conversations on creative topics, you know, for the most part. The thumbnails and titles of the videos was brought up. Someone said, a couple of people said, wall of text on the thumbnails. I mean, not really. Most thumbnails are just shortened versions of the title. So, TTRPG Review, Iron Kingdom's Kickstarter Delivery, The Nightmare Empire might be the title, but on the thumbnail it'll probably just be TTRPG Review, Iron Kingdom's Nightmare Empire. If that's too much, then I don't know. It doesn't seem like much to me. It doesn't seem like a wall of text. Should it just be like an eggplant emoji or something instead? I don't know. But the titles of the videos, I mean, it's actually pretty common advice to put a lot of stuff into the titles, as that and the first section of the about section really help searchability, especially since they kind of removed keywords and tags from being so important. It used to be that the keywords and tags was where you would try and put everything that people might be interested in that would bring them to your video. Now the advice is to put all the keywords that you can into the title and the about section. So that's what you're told to do to get people to search and find your videos. And in a world where we have animes titled I was run over by a steamroller in the real world and reincarnated as a magical butt plug that can play 80s pop hits, it you know, TTRPG review, Iron Kingdom's Nightmare Empire doesn't seem like too much of a mouthful. So there's a combination of things going on there. Some of the comments, I think people haven't actually been watching so recently. It's like my intros used to be longer. They're shorter now. Never longer than 30 seconds, I don't think, unless it's a very old one that I occasionally still use. I've cut most of the intros back. Some of them are homages to TV shows I watched as a kid, so they're as long as intros for that kind of thing used to be. And that's all. Quite a lot of people, on the other hand, express a fondness for the variety of intros and outros that I do, and the effort I put into them, and the homages I do to various things. So that seems to be a matter of taste. Someone also complained that I was shilling things at the beginning of my videos. I haven't done that for a very long time. Must be at least a year now, probably longer. I now put the adverts at the end, so you don't need to worry about that at the start of the video before I get into the topic. So yeah, I'm kind of wondering how up to date that observation is. One person brought up sound issues, which is a little bit odd. I mean, the really old videos were using webcam mics or other smaller, less good mics, but I've been using a Blue Yeti for a very long time now. Sound quality is great. And regarding other factors, sound is now about as optimum as it can be without me somehow getting a dedicated studio. I have sound absorbing tiles around things that make noise, like my computer. I have a quieter computer that runs quieter now. It's got the good mic, it's turned away from the sources of sound, and I can't hear the alleged issues even on headphones. And most of the time this is part of the reason I put music quite low in the background of the videos, because it helps cover up any background noise that's going on. As regards other things, yeah, I don't do a bunch of quick cuts. I don't have room for a multi-camera setup or anything, and despite all of that, I'm often complimented on the production quality. So again, this seems to be a matter of taste. You know, I do typically throw moving elements and so on up on the screen. So if you like shapes and colors, then that's normally something that you're going to get. Yeah, sometimes I do listen back to my performance, such as it is, and I do use a much greater range of my voice and inflection than a lot of other people do on their channels. And I get compliments on my voice, and I get compliments on how fair and even I am, how I bother to take time to explain what terms mean and place things in context. But what I don't do is act like a manic spaz or a meme. I don't do that. You know, I shouldn't have done that against a green screen, should I? Oops. Quasi-spontaneity is also quite important to me, because I'm trying to present myself in as genuine and authentic a way as possible, in part to contrast from the influencers and the fakes and the gurning overreactions that people have. So I don't generally produce scripts. I do occasionally. Normally I do what I've done today, which is I create a bullet pointed list and then I work my way down it. So I have an idea of what I'm going to say, but then I actually say things off the cuff because it feels more natural to me. It's what I prefer to listen to. So I make the kind of videos that I'd prefer to see. So yeah, that's where I am with all that. I appreciate the advice, assistance, and commentary, even the negative stuff. I think maybe I wasn't entirely clear about what my intention was in the previous video, but here we all are. Zang.